Yes, welcome into Sports Bet. Betting Insight today. Pauly and Teddy, Wednesday, September 6th, big game breakdown. Oklahoma State, South Alabama, top 10 team in action Friday night. And the Yankees and the Orioles tonight. Deep dive, part 2, NFC. We'll run that through with the win totals as well and play of the day before we get out of here. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books in a second. Zeke Elliott is in Sunday night against the Giants. Cowboys up to 4 now. And we'll see if the public gets involved and push that number even higher. Who knows when he'll be suspended and how long the judge might grant a stay on Friday. So we'll see if they take this to the federal court and it plays out all year. Who knows? It could be Deflategate Part 2. But we do know he'll be out there Sunday for the Cowboys.
Exactly. And now we have a clear demonstration of how much Zeke Elliott is worth to the point spread. When he was suspended, the line was Dallas minus 3.5. As soon as the suspension was announced as being rescinded for game 1, the line moved to 4. The markets have said the difference between Zeke Elliott and Darren McFadden and company is exactly a half point. I agree with that assessment. I think it's worth a half point at the most, Pauly, and the markets concur with what I've been saying.
And the markets are wrong. He's probably 1.5, 2 points. The numbers are staggering with Elliott on and off the field. Yards per carry, yards per play, and also passer rating, which was 113 with Prescott on the field, with passer rating of 113 with Elliott on the field and 88 with Elliott off the field. So he also led the league in yards and carries, and the odds makers didn't give Romo a lot of credit 2 years ago when he was hurt, and they went 1-11 without him. Elliott, one of the 3 running backs that matter to the point spread.
Yeah, he matters. He matters a half point. The markets have said it very clearly. I'm with you. He matters. He's not a guy that doesn't matter at all. He matters a hook. And in fact, there are a couple of shops now that are even 4 minus 15. So maybe you say he matters to the tune of 3/4 of a point instead of half a point. But not even a full point update for Zeke Elliott.
Okay, and now we have an Irma update. The Dolphins and the Buccaneers has moved to week 11. So that means 16 games in a row, no bye week for both teams. Also, the Dolphins, so they will get that game in, but they postponed it from Sunday. And Miami, Arkansas State in college football has been canceled. They will not make that up. That means season win totals are a refund in some places, should be most places, but check your numbers there and how your shops grade stuff. And then Central Florida and Memphis has been moved up to Friday.
Yeah, and let's talk about the Dolphins-Bucks game to start out, because when you're talking about a team getting their bye in week 1 and then playing 16 consecutive weeks, guess what? That becomes a bet against team by about week 8 or week 9 or so. And if you're looking for derivative wagers to take advantage of this stuff, betting against the Bucks to make the playoffs, betting against the Dolphins to make the playoffs makes a whole lot of sense for a pair of teams that essentially just lost their bye week.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. Don't give me this player safety shit when you're going to throw out a bye. That's ridiculous. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Bad beats the Yankees. Sabathia couldn't hold a 6-1 lead, and Betances blows it in the 9th. Machado with the walk-off. You cannot blow games like this in September, Teddy.
Well, the Yankees are finding ways to do it. And, of course, a look at the tweet from Darren Willman. Manny Machado got all of that one. That was the hardest hit. The hardest a ball has been hit off Dellin Betances this year. So, yeah, tough beat if you had the Yankees. No question about it. When you got a 6-2 lead late, you're supposed to be cashing those tickets, especially with the number 1 bullpen in WAR since the All-Star break. Wasn't the case last night. Machado with the walk-off. Big comeback win for the Orioles and bad beat for Yankee support.
How about some bad bets? The Cardinals-Padres under 9, bet down to 8.5. 8.5 minus 125 at Penny. There were 12 runs scored in that one. And the Dodgers lose again. They've got 10 of 11. They opened 120, closed 145. That's the markets reacting to no Goldschmidt again. Diamondbacks have won 12 in a row. And they have, how about this? They haven't trailed in their past 98 innings. Third longest since 1900.
I mean, that's really an insane stat. And of course, Dodgers took a ton of money yesterday, minus 120 up to minus 145. We're talking about a team that's 1-10 in their last 11 games. And the only game they won during that span came 1-0 when Clayton Kershaw came back. They were held to a single run or less for the 7th time since August 20th. They've been outscored 16-1 in this series. All they got was a solo shot from Grandel. And, of course, as you mentioned, the D-backs, 98 consecutive innings without trailing. Only the 2002 Oakland A's and the 1942 Yankees have longer streaks in MLB history than what Arizona has been putting together over the last couple of weeks. And, boy, you talk about that total that got steamed down, that Cardinals-Padres. Let's see. Travis Wood hit a home run and gave up 3 home runs. The game went over the total by the top of the 3rd inning. That was a bad bet, pushing all that money under.
It was a rough night for the shops. Let's run it down. Pirates took money, plus 175 down to 155. They get 2 off Edwards in the 8th. The Cubs blow a lead in the bottom of the 8th, and the Pirates win. And the Tigers took money. The markets don't like or respect Vargas, as his advanced metrics numbers are bad. He is 2-7 with an 8 ERA since July. 20-cent move on the Tigers went off $1.05.
Yeah, I mean, the Pirates, they've lost contact with a playoff chase. Guess what? They're still playing with pride. Now a 4-game winning streak for Pittsburgh. 20-cent move towards the Pirates. Bettors cashed in there. And, of course, a 20-cent move towards the Tigers as well. And, look, this Jason Vargas regression is something we've been talking about since, about June or so, when Vargas put up those ridiculous first-half numbers. What do you have, a 2.22 ERA on July 1st? Well, KC's lost his last 4 starts by a combined 22 runs. Markets faded him. Markets cashed in, fading him. KC, not a good bet with Jason Vargas on the hill right now.
Another one. Twins raise under 9.5 down to 9, 2-1 final. Twins were getting no hit till the 6th. Big Sexy Cologne threw another solid outing, but they couldn't get any run support. Twins now fall behind the Angels for the 2nd wild card.
Yeah, I mean, Jake Odorizzi was a monster last night. He carried a no-hitter into the 7th inning, but nobody's going to remember it because the crowd, 6,500 as the announced attendance in Tampa Bay. That's the lowest ever, all-time low for a Rays home game. Not a good sign for the future of baseball in Tampa Bay. We building a stadium here in Vegas, Pauly? Rays might be that far off the radar for a move to Las Vegas.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I doubt that. Up next, big game breakdown. Oklahoma State on ESPN2 against South Alabama, and then the Orioles and the Yankees tonight on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for Big Game Breakdown. Always sponsored and powered by BetOnline. Check out the bonus page, sportsbookreview.com, for the latest and best offers to open a new account today. Friday night, Oklahoma State and South Alabama, ESPN2. Cowboys 28 on the road, 66.5 the total. It's going to be a big bandwagon for Oklahoma State. They're fun to watch. They can score. They have an NFL quarterback and wide receiver. They opened 10 at the South Point against Tulsa, blitzed to 17 in a hurry, and other shops opened 17, and they bet it to 19.5. Anyways, they covered, and it went over. Now they opened 26.5, and it went to 28, and there's some 28.5s out there, Teddy.
Yeah, and we know which direction this line is going to go. It's not like there's suddenly going to be this groundswell of support for South Alabama, and the market's going to say, yeah, let's start fading the Cowboys. No. Oklahoma State has enjoyed wise guy support, and they've enjoyed public better, recreational better support over the first couple of weeks of the season. If they win this ball game and cover the number, this is legitimately a bandwagon team. And it's a problem for bookmakers. There's no question. The last thing the bookmakers want is a bandwagon team and a standalone TV game on a Friday night. And now you've got a bandwagon team, a team that's attracted significant betting attention from both recreational players and sharp players. And guess what? That team's really good. We've talked a lot about Mason Rudolph and the fact that he's got a receiving core 5 deep that's as good as any in the country. And B, this is a team that plays a style that brings a lot of sex appeal to the marketplace. They're going to chuck the football around. They're going to play fast. They're going to put up touchdowns. So now you have a bandwagon team on national TV against a weak opponent. And by the way, this isn't just about moving up in the rankings and pollster points and style points, which every top 10 team is concerned about. There's also an issue here with Mason Rudolph in the Heisman chase in the Heisman chase, when you get a chance to showcase your elite QB on national TV, you tend to take advantage of that.
Matchup problem for South Alabama. Oklahoma State had 2 touchdown plays of 70 yards or more last week, and South Alabama gave up a 77 and a 71-yard touchdown pass to Ole Miss, and they allowed over 400 passing yards. It's even more difficult as their starting safety is Robinson's out with a knee injury. Head coach Joey Jones, quote, "They have the #1 quarterback in the country, I believe. He's a good one. They're going to throw it. They're going to be hurrying up offense at every snap. I know they're very good," end quote. As you're right, they have 5 good wide receivers and a lot of weapons on offense. The DC said going into next week, the main thing we need to be focused on is improving our tackling, our rush. We're going to get some pressure. When they do make some throws, which they're going to make, we got to get their tail on the ground. We'll make a huge emphasis on that, on the way we tackle on this one. They were outmanned against Ole Miss, but still got the money as they got 2 late touchdowns. This one could get out of hand Friday, Teddy. I don't want any part of an Oklahoma State game under, though.
Oh, absolutely. And I considered using the over as the play of the day for this. We ended up with a different choice for play of the day, but certainly that's a wager worth taking a good hard look at because of what you talked about. We expect Oklahoma State. They're going to get in the 40s, maybe in the 50s in this contest. That's what they're going to do week in, week out, especially against weaker defense. Who knows? Maybe they get to 60 here. But let's be realistic and expect them, in the mid to upper 40s. What's South Alabama going to bring to the table? Can they hang around in this point spread range? Well, they were severely outclassed against Ole Miss last week, but they didn't quit. Fourth quarter, 2 touchdown drives. Not 1. They needed 2 to get the money, and they got 2 to get the money. That's worth noting when it comes to both the total and the point spread for this one. South Alabama showed some character last week. Let's see if they do it again.
Game number 2, live odds powered and sponsored by BetOnline. Good one tonight. The Yankees and the Orioles. Gray against Gossman, BetOnline. Orioles $1.15, 9 the total. Yankees have the #1 wild card spot. They're 2.5 up on the Angels. They're 3.5 back of the Red Sox in the East. The Yankees have stunk since 2014 in this ballpark, and they've lost 11 consecutive series against the Orioles on the road. Gossman started bad, then found his game. On July 15th, he was 5-7 with a 6.39 ERA. Since 5-2 with a 1.73. How about that? He's allowed 1 run or less in 6 of his last 9 starts, 60 strikeouts versus 48 hits. What a great turnaround, Teddy.
Yeah, and we're talking about a guy who was a former #1 pick. They gave him plenty of room to hang himself. A Buck Showalter on how they stayed patient with Kevin Gossman. Quote, "The patience was because we knew Kevin was better than that," meaning those first half numbers when he had a 6.39 ERA. "Some of the patience we want to have because of their track record. Kevin doesn't have a long one, but we know he's capable of better than that. There's a lot of things that he and Roger McDowell have been working very hard about, executing location of pitches, and that's what's really changed." And you talked about the fact he's allowed 1 run or none in 6 of his last 9 starts. Look what he's done his last 2 starts. Against the Red Sox in Fenway and at home against Toronto, 13.2 innings of work, 0 runs allowed. This is a guy who isn't being priced like an ace just yet. His season-long stats aren't going to show you that he's an ace. His current form, nothing short of outstanding. He's a bet-on-hurler all the way down the stretch in 2017.
You have to feel for Sonny Gray, too, where the Yankees are getting their money's worth since the trade, but they can't get any runs for him. Even the Yankees have gone 2-4 in his starts. Look at this graphic. 37 innings pitched, 35 strikeouts, 13 runs. The ERA is 3.16, but he's 2-4 because they've averaged 2.3 runs in his starts, and they scored 1 or 0 in the 4 losses, Teddy, all 4 losses.
Yeah, Sonny Gray is like more of the same. It's not like the A's offense scored a ton of runs for him when he was in Oakland, and unfortunately for him and his backers, those struggles have continued since he arrived in New York. As you mentioned, whenever you have more strikeouts than hits allowed, when you got a 3.16 ERA, your team's not supposed to be 2-4 in your 6 starts with the squads. It is worth noting, though, he's coming off a bad start, a noticeably bad start per se. He gave up 3 home runs against Boston in his last outing. This is a guy who'd only allowed 5 home runs in more than 90 innings of work for the entire season coming in. But the question is, those 3 homers, something to be worried about? Well, he had 9 strikeouts versus only 5 hits in the game, only 1 walk. but obviously 3 of those hits were dingers. His quote, "I got beat on 3 pitches tonight. A couple of them, I looked at them and they were decent pitches. They just beat me. It's frustrating because on a night like tonight, where I feel like I had some good things going for me, I got beat on 3 swings." Read between the line there, and it says, don't worry too much about Sonny Gray. The 3-homer outing last time, probably not a harbinger of things to come.
Very good. We'll get back to this one coming up. Up next, NFL win totals in the deep dive part 2. NFC coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SPRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SPR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrapping it up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today. The NFL season is here on Thursday. We'll tear into that and also get into the big schedule in the NFL and college football coming up as we do a lot of game previews Thursday and Friday during football season on SportsBit. Teddy, how did you tell these people again how you put these together with the win totals?
Sure. The win total numbers, and we've got them for all 4 divisions of the NFC today. We did all 4 divisions from the AFC yesterday. You can go back in the archives and take a look if you are so inclined to do so. But it's real simple. Okay, the win total factors in 8 books, 4 from Vegas and 4 from offshore, generally the sharper books offshore and in town. You take those 8 books, you average their win total together, but you factor in the juice, where 50 cents worth of juice is worth a half win. And voila, your spreadsheet spits out some numbers. It says this is what the team's actual win totals are. So let's flash up the NFC East right here, and you can take a look at what the numbers show. And again, these are the aggregate averages from 8 books with juice factoring in the equation. And we have Dallas and the Giants, only about a third of a win separating them, then Philadelphia, and then the Redskins ranked dead last in that division. But of course, we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys at the top of the division. We got to talk about Dak Prescott, Pauly. Can Dak Prescott do as a sophomore what he did as a rookie last year and lead the team to an exceptional season?
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Elliott, but I think they'll change how they'll play if Elliott's suspended. He has a ton of weapons. I think Prescott will have a big year as well, although the Cowboys will regress, as they usually do when they win the division. I like the Giants, who went 11-5 last year with a nasty defense. I think Eli can have a better year, and they bring in Brandon Marshall, also Ingram, the tight end from Ole Miss. Can they get the running game going? Still won 11 games and couldn't run the ball last year and had a below-average offense. And I know the professionals like the Eagles over, Teddy, and we like the Redskins under.
Yeah, sure. Philadelphia over has been a very attractive wager amongst the wise guys. They're looking for a big second season out of Carson Wentz and company. And it's worth noting, as the season win total marketplace has changed, so has the betting marketplace. Philadelphia and Washington, if you go back to the beginning of the offseason, the very first win totals, these 2 teams were almost even. Now there's more than a full game separating the 2 of them. That has been reflected in the point spread as well. The Redskins were home favorites against the Eagles in week 1. Well, now the lines pick them, or Washington +1 in a lot of spots. The lines for week 1 reflect the changes in the win total marketplace.
NFC North now, gun to head. I would take the Bears under. I think Teddy disagrees. I expect Trubisky in there at some point, sooner rather than later. Lions under, horrible roster, not much on defense. Packers, I could lean over. I could see them winning 11 games. Good game week 1 against the Seahawks at home. And I don't know what to make of the Vikings. That offensive line really concerns me. It was horrible in the preseason. It stunk last year. I like that they got Murray and Cook, but I don't think Bradford's going to have time to throw.
Yeah, and that's a big issue for Minnesota. In my mind, Minnesota's the X factor in this division. All right, the upside on the Bears is probably 7 or 8 wins. They're not going to be a playoff team. The Lions upside, you say, if everything breaks right for the Lions, maybe they go 9-7 like they did last year. But Minnesota's a team that a year ago we were talking about as a potential Super Bowl contender. They opened up the campaign 5-0, and then everything fell apart down the stretch for them. Offensively, the offensive line fell apart. Sam Bradford was the check down. He made Alex Smith look like a deep thrower with his check down passes. And even the defense, which Mike Zimmer had so carefully crafted, started to wear down by the end of the campaign because of that offensive ineptitude. The market's expecting a bounce back for Minnesota this year. They've taken over money, and they've taken over money in recent weeks. We'll see. The jury's still out on the Vikings. In my mind, they're a fascinating team to consider. heading into the campaign. You're not going to find any of my money on Minnesota over 8.5 wins.
Teddy, I could make a case for all 4 teams to win this division, the NFC South. I think Atlanta takes a step back. I don't like Shanahan leaving, and Stark's now the new OC. Carolina gets McCaffrey. I think Newton bounces back as well. I love the Saints. Back-to-back 7-9 seasons. I love them over because you get Adrian Peterson, more of a running game. Remember, 7-1 ATS last year on the road, and 7 of the 9 losses by less than a touchdown. I think they catch some breaks, and the defense improves as well. In Tampa Bay, a lot of weapons. I mean, you got O.J. Howard, Evans, Jackson, Doug Martin. But Winston, if you make horrible decisions off the field, why wouldn't you make them on the field? That's troubling with me, but that Tampa Bay defense was nasty down the stretch when they closed 6-2 straight up. What do you think about the South?
Yeah, I mean, sitting at the Tuesday group yesterday, which of course is one of these, there's, how do you describe the Tuesday group? It was here before I got to Vegas 20 years ago, where a bunch of wise guys sit around and have lunch and talk football every Tuesday afternoon. We go through every game on the board. I've been going for the better part of the last 20 years. There have been guys that have been going longer than me. But the general consensus was this is the toughest division in the NFL. The win totals clearly show it. And there are 2 things I want to highlight. One, the Bucs are playing 16 straight weeks. This line's not going to hold at 8.3. There will be wise guy money coming against Tampa. If you want to get out ahead of the markets, bet the Bucs under their win total right now, assuming that it is going to be 16 straight weeks, and they're not going to try to squeeze Miami and Tampa in somewhere this weekend. The other team I want to talk about is Carolina, a squad that obviously was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Last year, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Wise guys don't love this team. And yet, they're still priced at higher than 9 wins. Certainly the market is expecting something of a bounce back for the Panthers, even though Cam Newton missed basically the entirety of the preseason recovering from offseason surgery.
I love Seattle. I'm not high on Arizona. I know the professionals liked them last year and this year. They opened up 7.5 in some spots. That was immediately bet up. They're a favorite now on the road against Detroit week 1. They were favored in 12 of their 16 games last year and still went under 500. It's not a lot to like as far as I'm concerned with Arizona. And then you have the Rams and the 49ers, where we'll see if Goff can take that, actually become a decent quarterback. The Rams are faced with a tough decision with maybe Cousins on the market next year if they decide to cut bait with Goff after 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be plenty of suitors for Kirk Cousins if he hits the open market. Some team in Jacksonville might have a few dollars to throw their way. But Arizona, to me, is a fascinating squad here because if you remember, when the South Point first opened, they opened the Cardinals at 7.5. Now we're talking about 8.7. Same personnel they had. You know, it's not like they made a blockbuster deal and got a new quarterback or, you know, revamped their defense. So when you're talking about line moves over the summer, the importance of having multiple outs, you know, that's why we talk here a lot on SportsBet. Have at least 3 shops you can bet at. That's why you go to Sportsbook Review and take advantage of the bonus pages and the bonus offers that you can find, is to make sure you can get some of these numbers when they first come out. Arizona 7.5 over, great bet. Arizona 8.7 right now, you know, 8.5 with juice, not so much. And the 8s out there with Arizona are heavy juice. Cardinals might have been a great bet a couple of months ago. Go over the total. They're not a great bet anymore.
All right, money time, play of the day. Back to the Orioles, betting number 970. Orioles at home, minus 115. You saw the numbers. Gossman's been terrific. Yankees can't get Gray any run support, and Machado's been tearing it up. They hit 4 home runs yesterday in the win. Let's take the Orioles. And the Yankees have been terrible in that ballpark the last 3-4 years. Thursday and Friday, we go over 4 big game breakdowns in football, college, and pro, the biggest games. And it's a huge schedule Saturday in college football with the marquee games all at night. We made it. The NFL season starts tomorrow. We'll hit it heavy on SportsBet. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com. Football's here. Tell your friends.